It's nice to see so many people here. We see some familiar faces, and that is always nice, and also some new faces, which is also very good. So I think we can start now. So I think I will just hand over the word to you, Avi. And just to explain the concept a little bit today also maybe is that Avi will start and give a presentation, and then you will also be able to ask questions. So we have prepared some questions that I will ask him, and then you will also get the opportunity to ask. So great if you have your cameras on. Over to you.
Perfect. So good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure being with you all again, and thanks to Ingela for inviting me to participate here. As Ingela just mentioned, I will give a short presentation, introduction to the topic that I'd like to present to you, and then I would love to have a conversation about this. One of the things I like about this forum is the wealth and diversity and experience that people bring, and I would love to have some exchange of ideas. So without further ado, let me share my screen, and for just a few minutes, I'll just introduce the topic here, and we'll take it from there. So I will introduce myself and my background in a minute, and I will start by saying that this presentation is a slight variation on a topic that I've been sharing with folks for a while, which was titled "Engineering is an Art," but being in a more diverse and expansive space, I crossed this out and I claim that leadership is an art. A few words about myself. This is my graphical bio. I was born and raised in Israel, studied double E in the Technion. Like many Israelis, I served in the Israeli Defense Forces. I had my MBA in a shared program with Kellogg and Recanati, the Northwestern School of Business and the Tel Aviv University School of Business. You can see in the center what I love to do. I am a scuba diver. I spend a lot of my time here on the big island of Hawaii, and I love diving. The specific place that you see on the screen here is called Two Step. It's one of the magnificent snorkeling and scuba diving places on the island, and actually one of the top snorkeling places in the world. You're welcome to come over and visit. You can see my family below, my wife, my two sons, and myself in a trip in the jungle several years ago. And you can see our cat. And I will welcome any interpretation to the fact that the cat is bigger than my family in all of the pictures. So you can do with that interpretation whatever you'd like to. On the right-hand side, you see a little bit of my professional bio. I worked and was one of the first participants in a company called NICE, which is one of the largest companies today in Israel. I had my own startup dealing with privacy and personalization in the mobile space in the early 2000s. I then worked with Azul Systems in the US and VMware, Google Cloud, and Google Search over the last 15 years in the US and Silicon Valley. And today I share my time between California and Hawaii on a regular basis. So what is this all about? Across my 30 years of experience in small companies, in startups, in large companies, in very large organizations such as VMware and Google, as an engineer by heart, as an engineering leader, as an executive, as a mentor, as a coach, I found some things that help individuals, teams, and organizations accomplish many of this word cloud elements that you see on the screen here. I first and foremost believe that it's critically important for any individual and organization to meet their goals, to be predictable, to have to deliver on their commitments, and to build an organization that shares knowledge, that people feel that they are fulfilled, that they grow, they thrive, an organization where there's knowledge sharing and mentoring, and so on and so forth. And right now, actually, I want to open the floor to you, and with this minuscule, very limited introduction, I want to ask you to complete the question of what if. You still don't know what I'm going to talk about in the context of the art of leadership, but with the limited context that I gave you, I'm inviting you to open your microphone and complete the sentence, what if? What if I would? What if I could? What if we would? What if we could? Just open the mic and share your thoughts very quickly in few words.
What if we all pulled together in the same direction?
Awesome. Thank you.
What if you know that you can't do any mistakes?
I love that. Thank you.
What if you are given a team of engineers to lead?
Great. Thank you.
What if we grow the maturity to accept uncomfortable facts and learn
I love
from
it. Thank you.
What if we don't do anything?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Thank you.
What if money wasn't an issue?
I love that. Thank you very much.
What if the team would actually work better without you?
Interesting. Thank you.
What if
two more?
What if we start being the true servant leaders?
Wonderful. Thank you. One more.
What if we do let our employees or reporters do what they're allowed to do?
Whoever just spoke, you were very, very soft. Can you speak a little bit louder and repeat what you just said?
Yes, sorry. What if we let our employees or by reporters do what they're allowed to do?
Thank you for sharing. So, what if we could actually make all of those what ifs happen? This is the ultimate what if, right? And I'm going to bring us back to the context of business organizations and leadership organizations and teams and so on and so forth. But I have to say that I'm curious to hear whether anyone on the call is interested in bringing the conversation or taking the conversation to areas that are other than the commercial business dimensions. But for the next few minutes, I'm going to focus on those and introduce my theme. And the theme is about making all of those what ifs happen, developing a leadership framework that can actually drive execution, drive results, drive fulfillment, deliver all of those word clouds that I had in the previous slide. And one word of caution before we actually go to the framework. My hypothesis is that anything you would do in order to accomplish what we're going to talk about requires change. Change in habits, change in environments, change in many, many dimensions. And change is hard. Change is difficult, it's uncomfortable. Many times we opt to stay in the comfort zone of things that we are used to. And so change is required and it's mandatory in order to get extraordinary results. My very, very good friend, when we talked about this topic and we talked about the criticality of having change as part of what we do as leaders, found this picture for me. And the title is so profound. You know, you take a piece of coal, you put it under extreme pressure, and you get a diamond. If you're leading an organization and you want to accomplish amazing results that are supportive of your business goals, results that will drive the fulfillment and satisfaction of every individual, results that will deliver growth and success to everyone involved, you need to drive change, and change is going to be difficult. Okay, so the wait is over. What are we talking about, and what is the art of being on target? The art of being on target, in my opinion, is the balance of three elements: relentless execution, ruthless planning, and radical listening. You can start from any point in this Mobius triangle: radical listening, ruthless planning, and relentless execution. And I'm more than happy to get questions about each one of those three dimensions. What do you mean by radical listening? What is ruthless planning anyway? And what is relentless execution? But let me tell you one thing that is really important. When you deal with this triangle, with this Mobius triangle of listening, planning, and execution, I very much guarantee you that you will get this word cloud of results. You will achieve your business goals. You will have an organization that delivers predictably. You will have people who are fulfilled and thrive. You will have quality outcomes. You'll deliver to your targets. And you'll create an organization that functions well. If we drill down into the triangle of the art of being on target, I will just give you another taste of this framework and kind of double click into each one of those areas. Why are they all important together, and how does it all work out? Suppose you are only focusing on listening to all the possible perspectives and the people around you. Will you be able to make progress? I claim not, because you'll be kind of stuck in stagnation. You'll be listening all the time and driving no results. What if all you do is plan and plan and plan and plan and plan and have processes and processes on top of processes that will make sure that you know what you're planning to do? You're stuck in bureaucracy. What if all you do is drive, and execute relentlessly? You have no space for creativity. You have no space for innovation. And as you can see from this Venn diagram, each one of the combination of two is getting you not getting you to the perfect place. And my framework suggests that only when you combine those, when you balance listening, planning, and execution in a delicate way, you'll deliver on the business, you'll deliver on the team, you'll deliver on the people, and you'll get on target delivery. So what's next? I'm actually curious to hear from you what's next. I'm curious to hear what questions do you have. I have a bunch of other topics that I will touch on depending on what questions come in. But I'm actually curious to hear, after this brief introduction, what is top of mind for you? What are your takeaways? And what are you curious about? I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to look at you all on the presentation.
I would be curious to hear from you what is the radical, ruthless, and relentless, how they differ and how deep they go, because the execution, listening, and planning is quite obvious, but the extent to which, I think that's the matter.
Right. And help me pronounce your name properly, Eustace?
It's Eustace, yes.
Thank you for the question, Eustace. So first and foremost, let me be super honest. In working through this framework, it was clear to me that it was listening, planning, and execution that were the key foundations of this balancing act. And then it was really important to me to find the descriptors that will drive the extreme. And I was lucky that I found 3 words that start with R, so it's the 3 R's. So it's a nice gimmick. But having found them, I actually think that they are, in fact, meaningful. And the reason is that radical listening, and there are great talks about the 3 ways of listening. I can share resources if you're interested. Radical listening is totally what other people call listening to learn, as compared to, or as contrasted to, listening to win. Many of us, especially in the business sections, in the commercial sections, when we listen to someone, 90% of our attention is, what are we going to say? How are we going to rebuttal? What is my point of view? How is this person wrong? How am I more right? Radical listening is being in the moment and listening to the person that is in front of you to understand what is important to them. What are they trying to say? What is their motivation? And then taking the time to understand how it all brings together. Many of you are familiar with the Cynefin model and the elements of complexity, where bringing multiple perspectives is critical to understanding the situation that you're part of. Listening is an element of that. Planning and execution are critically important to the success. What is ruthless planning? Too often, we see situations where people overload their plate. It's very difficult to make hard decisions on prioritizations. Ruthless planning is about not only the process, not only in the understanding of your capacity, but truly understanding your user needs, your customer needs, the requirements, the situation, the environment, what you may be able to do, what you may not be able to do, what you want to do, what is important, and truly focusing on the things that are important to the entire environment with all of those dimensions. And making ruthless decisions, making tough decisions on what goes in and what goes out. That's ruthless planning. And relentless execution is relentlessly going after, and it's actually a cycle between listening and planning and execution, relentlessly going and making sure that, am I hearing the right things? Am I listening to my customers? Am I prioritizing the right things? Is my plan still relevant? You know, one of the mistakes I see, and I hear it all the time, is person A comes to person B. I have an urgent request. Can I get a couple of hours from you to help me think about this? Or can you help me solve this? And the response is, Sure, I'll be happy to. Can you bring it into the next sprint planning in 2 weeks? No. You know, agile with a small a or agile with a capital A, it's being agile. It's listening. It's understanding what the priorities are. So even if our top priority is that, what is our partner asking for us? What is the best way to do right now, even if we plan something else? So that's the essence of those 3 R's. Kind of take listening, planning, and execution to the next level of seriousness, of engagement, of being all in these 3 dimensions. I hope that helps, Eustace. Thank you. What else? Go ahead.
I have also one question, if you don't mind.
Mustafa, your voice is very, very low. Can you increase the microphone or something?
Is that better?
Slightly better. Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I will try. So you talk about radical listening, and I think we all try to put our customers at the center and try to listen to them and try to understand their motivation. What is it that they are asking from us? But sometimes I have a feeling that they don't necessarily know themselves what they want. And this is a little bit the issue that I see. And of course, agility is all about trying and testing and finding ways to understand what is it that they're wanting and not wanting. But I also have a feeling, I think it was Henry Ford who said, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said, what is it called? Faster horses. So how do we have this opportunity of bringing something new to the table?
Oh, we lost you. Mustafa, we lost you. Your mic is no longer working.
Sorry, I lost you as well on my side.
Yeah, okay. So we lost you at the word, how can we?
Sorry. So what I was saying is that how can we balance that? How can we radically listen to them, but at the same time we take the leap and innovate and see if we can find the next big thing?
Thank you for the question. If there was an easy answer, everyone would have written the book, read the book, and were extremely successful. So clearly it's not a simple one. And I think that many of us around this virtual room right now are asking ourselves this question. By the way, other than Henry Ford, I remember a similar anecdote about Steve Jobs. You know, if we had not innovated, if you asked someone before the iPhone was created, what would their favorite mobile phone be? Would be a phone with a bigger keyboard. Similar thing, kind of, how do you leapfrog your customers? How do you actually know what they want? So I have 2 answers or 2 thoughts, and I would love to hear others kind of comment on this topic. One is truly listen. So I'm going to take a short segue and give a 30-second introduction to levels of listening. So part of the coaching discipline are describing 3 levels of listening. Listening level 1 is completely inside myself. It's all about me. Kind of when you are talking, when I was listening to you, it is about me. What is the best answer that I can give to Mustafa? What do I know? How can I make myself look smart? And so on and so forth. This is listening level 1, right? Sometimes it is important. To be perfectly honest, right now, a lot of my balance is balancing between level 1 and the other levels in order to share with you as much as I can from my experience, but I'm still trying to. So that's level 1 listening. It's about me. Level 2 listening is I'm all in with you. I'm completely focused on you. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to the vibes of your voice. I'm looking at your body language. I'm trying to see and hear and as much as we can feel beyond the words themselves. And level 3 listening is actually, and it is so hard in a virtual environment, level 3 listening is actually understanding the entire atmosphere of what's happening right now. Obviously, it is much easier to have in a physical environment where you can see and hear people in an audience or around the room, kind of look at people's body language. Popping the stack back up. One of the important things when talking with users, customers, potential people who would buy whatever you are producing is have a level 2 or level 3 listening. It's not only what they say, how they say that. What are they emphasizing? What is truly important to them? You know, I'm making this up right now, but suppose you are inventing the next mobile device, and the person in front of you is mentioning their significant other, their family, their children, as a byproduct or in passing when they're describing the importance of communication. So family is an important dimension here. So what is it that I can do that they are not even aware of to bring the family into my product? Maybe I can add a camera to this device that will actually be able to share the moments, not only when grandparents talk with their grandchildren from across the ocean, they can actually see them. So I think that is one element of why radical listening is so important, you know, listening in whole. So that's one. 2 is, with complexity in mind, bring multiple perspectives into the table. What do people from all sorts of backgrounds think about, strive about, what's important to them, what they think about it? And last but absolutely not least, maybe it's the first one, is innovation is jumping off the plane, not really sure that you have a parachute tied to your back because you believe that it's the right thing to do. And sometimes it will be successful and sometimes it won't. And sometimes that level 1 listening to yourself and your passion of what is important to you, you go all in. And you ruthlessly plan and ruthlessly execute, and then you start to see the results, or not. What do others think about this topic of, you know, how do you actually get what your users and customers want? I'm curious to hear other perspectives here.
I have one perspective on that. It's a big difference to be driven by your customer or be customer driven. So your customer can't really understand all times what is possible for them. So if you're a good listener, you will come to the conclusion what will be the right solution. And that is to be customer driven.
This is a really beautiful distinction. Thank you for sharing that, Magnus. Any other perspectives? If not, we are happy to go to another question or comment or observation that people may have.
And from what I understand, good listening is to try to develop an empathy, to put yourselves into their shoes, whoever we are listening to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's always a customer. Like, I mean, for me, my position is rarely direct communication with a customer, being a software engineer, but there is a customer, there are stakeholders, there are team members. Sometimes they are a customer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It has been a lot comments about listening. But can you say something a little bit about planning or execution as well? Any my experience?
Sure,
yeah. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
No, I was just, I think we spoke the other day, and my experience, because I've been working in different management teams, and I think what you said, in many management teams, you don't always listen to learn, but you kind of listen to win the discussion, kind of. So in many management teams, you have a tendency to focus more on execution, but there's also a good and a bad way to execute.
Right.
Could you elaborate maybe an example
Sure.
where execution was crucial to achieve object or anything?
Sure. And before we go to talking about some execution, I wanted to share with you, and I'll bring the presentation back here. Here is a tool, and I believe that Ingela will share the presentation view a little bit later. This is an example of ways to listen better by asking the right questions or by asking questions. A way to listen is to invoke the other person to describe what is on their mind. And the questions on the screen here, as some of you will recognize, are coming from the 4 areas described by Kneven. The top right, the bottom right is obvious or simple. The top right is complicated, and the top left is complex. And you can look at the questions and see what radical listening is. What is surprising about this? What are some different perspectives to consider? What is a totally different way to come at this? How can we see this as an opportunity? What happens if we do nothing or anything or everything, or how can we experiment? These are thought-provoking questions that you can use at almost any environment in order to invoke listening and thinking. And the other side on the right here are things that are more straightforward. What is working? What is not working? What is in the best position to do that? Kind of very task-oriented, right? Both of those things. This is the predictable and the unpredictable world that we are familiar with. What is it about execution that is critical? I think that in an interesting way, a good execution starts with good planning. Good planning involves relentless prioritization. As I mentioned before, do not overload your plate. Make sure you know exactly what is your highest priority, what do you need to accomplish, and how. You know, I've seen time and again situations where I talk with individuals and teams and leads and so on, and they immediately they actually jump into the execution. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I always stop them and ask them 3 questions. What problem are you trying to solve? Which is representing, you know, what is your user, customer trying to accomplish and so on. So what problem are you trying to solve? What does success look like? How do you know that you actually were able to solve the problem? You know, and how do you measure that? You can diminish that into 2 questions. What problem are you trying to solve? What does success look like in a measurable way? If you don't ask that question at the beginning of every project that you do, at every project meeting that you do, you'll be missing something. I adopted the practice from a very, very good friend who was previously in the US Air Force, one of the highest performing teams in the world. And they developed the art of execution. And one thing that I learned from him was to be diligent about following those 2 questions all the time. You know, one of the mistakes that people do is they start the project, they define the problem, they define the success criteria, they define the KPIs, and then they dive into execution. A week later, 2 weeks later, 3 months later, the entire environment has changed. They've learned new things, and they didn't adjust. One of the tricks that they did in the Air Force and in that organization was every project meeting, every Scrum meeting, every daily stand-up, start with, the problem we're trying to solve is, our success will be measured by. It's a super simple trick. You just put it at the header of your slides. And every meeting reminds everyone, it brings the context into what are we trying to accomplish? How do we know that we are on track or off track? And so execution is about planning. Planning is about execution, is knowing what you're trying to solve, what does success look like, and how do you measure that? And relentlessly and ruthlessly just tracking those elements and asking yours questions all the time. Are we on track? Are we not on track? Are we measuring what we wanted to measure? Is it still relevant? Are we solving the right problem? Did we check in with our customers to see that our progress is relevant to them? So listening, planning, and execution, it's not one or the other. It's a constant stream and a balance between these 3 elements. I'm not sure I answered your question, Ingela, but it's a different way.
Thank you.
What else comes to mind to all of you? Some of you.
That feels like this successful execution requires ability to go against our instincts. So I mean, like, for instance, you have to be doubting yourself by asking these questions on each meeting, right? You doubt yourself. Okay, we did this. Are we still on track? Are we doing the right thing still? So that doesn't sound very confident, and the managers want to appear confident. So that may go against the charisma in certain organizations. And another thing is the communication. That I don't want to go back to that topic, but Listening to win, listening to learn. Yeah, maybe we are in a competitive environment, and then we feel the fear of losing perceived value. Then we might just pressure ourselves to win, and then it might be difficult to put aside that part of processing in our minds. And okay, I don't have to lose this, but I have to listen and learn at the same time. Yeah, that works when the trust has been built within the organization and the people. But that's probably a topic of another meeting, how to build the trust. Yeah, like being not appearing sure, just conveying the message of not being sure, right? Insecurity, yeah, again requires some establishment in the organization, and not every organization, I guess, manages to do that. It's a tricky part.
Thank you for sharing, Beck. I really appreciate it. You touched on two main topics, and I'll try to comment. And again, I'm always happy to hear anyone else in the audience. There are so many people with so much experience. I'd love to learn myself. Your first comment was about, you said, this does not demonstrate confidence. We are constantly doubting ourselves. Are we on track or not? I respect that perspective. I think differently, in the sense that the way I regard this is, we live and operate in a complex space where complex has an asterisk over it, and it's part of the Cynefin model of things that are not linear, are not predictable. Realizing that the problems that we try to solve are unpredictable and non-linear, it would actually be hubris to consider that we've analyzed the problem to its full extent and that we know the perfect solution. That is the opposite of good leadership and good management. It's hubris. Please go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I actually didn't say that. I said
no, I know you didn't. I know you didn't.
This is actually what is happening. Someone who knows less tends to be more confident, Daniel Kruger effect, and may get more supporters. And the managers all feel the pressure to appear confident. In that environment, it might be difficult to bring these questions over and over again. How to solve the problem? I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I respect that perspective very much. I think it is a lot about communication. Again, taking a footnote, one of the things that I've done in the last several organizations that I've led was actually introduce the Cynefin model of working in complexity to the entire organization, from the leadership to the most junior engineer. Why is that important? Because it creates a common language. Because when I speak in whatever, one-on-one, or in a small forum, or in a large forum, about, folks, this is a complex space, we need to bring multiple perspectives, let's design our experiments, people that are fluent in the language immediately pick up on the keywords. And so we create a common language. And now there's no lack of confidence. There's no lack of, what is it? And that person that, excuse my bluntness, don't know what they're talking about, actually gets rejected by the crowd, by the audience, by the multiple of people, because they are actually not participating and are not contributing to the resolution of that complex problem that we are all part of. I realized that the thought that you have in your brain right now, and no, I'm not a mind reader, is that Avi is naive and he has no idea about large corporate politics. I don't think that I'm naive. I do have a sense of large corporate politics. And I've seen time and again that when the problems are surfaced effectively, even escalated effectively, then better solutions are coming together. So let me pause here, Berk. I'd like to hear kind of thoughts from you, and then I see Akshat, you have your hand, but let me kind of continue a little bit of the discussion with Berk here. Any thoughts, Berk, to what I said?
Well, I agree, but I still am like yeah, that's what you say. I agree with fully. But how to achieve that without actually building trust? Yeah, I'm doubtful about that. In some organization, it's already been built. You get into organization, you see people communicating more directly, and then things are fine. My position, it's again like not the biggest concern, but it's still an observation. Other organizations, it's much more hierarchical and competitive. Then changing the culture may be not possible just with one educational session. I guess again, like that's probably a topic another meeting.
It is,
But
and
I
very
think
much so.
It's a key. Like we learn these things in here, and we might be in an environment where it is impossible to actually make a change, and it just get us fired. that is possible. Those organizations exist which won't last long.
I may be naive in that, but that is something that I have personally done in my career. An organization that doesn't believe in listening and supporting its members is not a place that I want to be part of. I'm competitive to the point that I love to solve complex situations and complex riddles and to bring great value to my users and customers. I'm not competitive to cutthroat competition in organizations that are pure political. And I personally will not take part in such an organization. And these are my own choices. As I said a few minutes ago, I have seen in person the impact of bringing common language, understanding of principles like listening and complexity and others into organizations, including the topmost leadership, from the top to the bottom, and driving better execution in organizations. And for you and for everyone else who are interested in bringing this to your organization, reach out. I'll be happy to have a conversation and see if it's relevant for you. Actually, give me just one more minute. I know that we're almost running out of time, but I want to introduce to everyone one more thing and again, it's going to be part of the slide deck, so you can look at this. This is another resource that I very much appreciate. This is from the book called Beyond Reason by Fisher and Shapiro. Roger Fisher actually passed away a few months ago, and he was a great researcher. The book Beyond Reason talks about communication between teams and individuals, and he introduces the concept of core concerns. In other words, what am I bringing to the table, and what do I want to take away? What is it that I want from you? What is it that I want to show? And so he classifies things as, on the left side, you can see the core concerns as, what is important to me is appreciation. Kind of, I want you to know that that I am valued, that I'm capable. Or maybe affiliation. I want to be related to you. I want to be welcome and included, and so on. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I'm just giving you a peek into this framework. It's very, very interesting. Fisher and Shapiro, one of them, I believe, was a CIA negotiator. And he brings a lot of elements from his environment to working with people. And similar to what the conversation that Berk and I had about how do you work with people, the key that they bring in this book is about the dynamics of communication. So what do you do in a competitive environment? What do you want to accomplish? And how do you figure out what the other person is trying to accomplish? What are their core concerns? And you're trying to address them. Akshat, please go ahead.
Thank you, Avi, and thank you, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I had a question, but before that, I heard another person talking about the cougar effect, and just my 2 cents on it. I fought it as well for a very long time in my career. And the way I handle it is I try to identify what are the things that are contributing towards this effect when somebody's trying to be trying to show that they are expert, but they are equally either a beginner level or straight away incompetent. And the support that such members get from the team is also because of either politics or people are equally new to the concept and they're trying to excel their knowledge or their positions. So what I did is identify these elements and try to isolate these topics. And how I did is first I requested them to put their thoughts in an email and share with everyone with the right data that provides a sufficient information about their argument. And then the second thing I did is I realized that I am not thorough in my knowledge as well because I cannot counter argument, which provides a correct point or direction to me that I need to study as well. And I need to gain more expertise so that not only I understand, but I'm capable of teaching others as well. And these 2 factors has contributed a lot in the beginning fighting the cougar effect. There are so many things I can speak about because I have certainly matured from that situation and I know when this happens how to counteract it, but we can take this either separately. You can contact me here or on my email. But yeah, that was something that I did. And I do it as today as well. It's part of everyone's professional journey. My question to you, Avi, was as a leader, I wanted to understand that how can I increase the employees' engagement or my team members' engagement in the goals, in the shared goals that we are, working towards. Sometimes people start diverting and or straight away distraction because they feel less motivated. But that is something I wanted to understand. If you have few techniques that you follow, and the follow-up question to this is that how can I provide opportunities to my team members so that I can not only just get feedbacks from one-on-one, but in a way where they themselves come in open and talk about their motivation and encourage other team members so that I don't have to take the baton and do this alone.
Thank you, Akshat, for the question and for your explanation. And I also see a question from Sindhu on the chat in a similar area. In other words, how to motivate and engage people when priorities change. We have limited time, so I'll try to keep my answer brief. To me, the first thing goes back to my 2 questions of what problem are we trying to solve and how do we measure success and how do we know what success looks like in a measurable way. We have to articulate this. We have to articulate this and share it effectively with the organization. Another trick that I want to share with you, something that one of my coaches shared with me years ago. They talked with me about the principle of communication that is called 5 times 5 ways. What is 5 times 5 ways? When you're setting the goals of the organization, where you're changing the goals of the organization, you want to effectively articulate those new goals in the direction multiple times in multiple forums in multiple ways and make sure that they get disseminated. It's not enough to have an email to the organization. It's not enough to have an all hands. You need to have the email and the all hands and the team meeting and the one-on-ones and the management meetings and the project meetings, and you need to repeat them to make sure that people understand what your goals are. So employee engagement and change management starts with a clear articulation of the goals or clear articulation of the problem statement and the measures of success. The other part of that is actually carefully listening to what your employees are saying. You know, I'm going to sit down with Akshat and listen to what is important to Akshat. What are his principles? What are his aspirations? What are his skills and what are his strengths? And I'm going to try and understand whether all of those are aligned with our goals or not. And if they're aligned, we're going to work together to align them in the same direction, such that the individual and the organization are going in the same way. And if they're not, we're going to find ways to find the common ground where it is. So engagement and change management is about articulation of the goals and understanding what the individuals are looking for and trying to align these. That's the short form. And if you're interested to hear more, I'm happy to share. We are very quickly running out of time here. Ingela, what do we want to do next?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Avi.
much.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. If anyone had some more question and you would like to continue, Avi, it's okay with me.
I just wanted to know if this recording can be provided to us in some way.
Yeah, we will share the recording of this with everyone.
Thank you so much.
Well, let's pause here, Ingela. I really want to thank everyone for their participation. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me through any one of the common ways, you know, LinkedIn and email and so on and so forth. I will put my contact information on the screen just for completeness, if I only find it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Then we say thank you for coming, Avi. It's always a pleasure having you here, and it's always very interesting when you share your stories from reality. So thank you, everyone, for today. We will set up a new one tomorrow. There you have the contact information to Avi, so please reach out to him if you have any questions. Thank you for today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.